Oh, hey, welcome to another episode of Movie Talk. And apparently, if I can scroll out, when I post these things on Twitter, it really irritates the crap out of me because then I have to go right back to the home screen, and it's a mess right now. So we are talking about 2010, the year we make contact, which is the sequel to 2001. I wasn't expecting to do a 2001 episode last week, but hey, it sets it up for
Sorry.
this one. It sets it up for this one.
This one made a lot more sense. Yeah.
It's a more
I
coherent,
know
like, kind of storyline.
yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna praise, Kubrick on this one.
Did
Um
Kubrick? Peter Hyams did this one. Kubrick, I think he he
Oh,
and
yeah, Peter Hyams. Yeah.
yeah, he and Arthur Clarke got into it, so they were kind of at odds by the end of the production of 2001. So Peter Hyams decided, or he stepped up and worked on this movie. So it's a little
Mm,
less, it's a little less abstract than the
yeah,
previous movie.
and it feels like one because abstract means bad. I've seen Picasso's paintings. He couldn't paint worth um,
He had a killer
I bet
mustache
you
though.
don't. Yeah,
He
but
could even mess up a stick figure.
yeah, like your daughter could paint better than him. Um, but this one takes place 9 years after the previous movie.
Mhm.
Um, and right off the bat, I found the premise of um, just the amount of political interference by the White House and by the Soviet Kremlin's office is just so utterly like believable.
It's
And
crazy because even watching this movie today with all the political turmoil that we have between right now they're trying to mark a peace deal between Ukraine, Russia, and the United States. So the amount of like just red tape and posturing and stuff like that that's going on in this movie kind of mirrors a lot of stuff that's going on today.
yeah, I will. uh, I completely agree. Like, and it was kind of funny, but like when you think about how they explain that the part of the disaster in the 2001 movie was political, you kind of go, well, it was Bush, so yeah. And then with this one, it's Obama and Putin, so yeah, yeah, I definitely see it. I'm joking. I have to bash all these politicians. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's fine. Hi Becca, by the way, she's in the chat. So
Ooh.
yeah, it's just it's fascinating to me because I this is a movie I go back and watch like every year, like on New Year's Day, just because it's one of the probably most kind of hopeful, or I would say it's most of the hope inspiring films that came out of the 80s, and it's one of those movies where I'm like, okay, new year, new possibilities, all these worlds are yours, blah blah blah. I'm here to learn things and stuff.
Except except for Europa,
Yes,
which
do not attempt any
uh,
landings.
which I'll actually say is kind of hopeful because it means no US and Russia and Europe. I'm joking. I'm joking. I can resist that joke.
Well, it's funny because like 2063, they have an incident that happens like and it's
Huh?
that's the third book in the series. They never made a movie out of it, but if you get a chance, read 2063, Odyssey 3. What happens in that is there's a shuttle that has a malfunction, is downed on Europa, and they have to land on Europa to do a rescue mission. So they're hoping that whatever's going on with the monolith or whatever, they'll allow them to get their people off the planet before anything happens or whatever. It, It's funny because it does tie into this one loosely because Haywood Floyd has to go back into space and go deal with this situation. So I don't want to give away too much because it's a good book. It's kind of sad. It's kind of a little sad, bittersweet ending.
Complete contrast to this one.
Yeah, this is. I wouldn't say this movie is saccharine, but like it is.
Hopeful.
Yeah, it's very hopeful. It's one of those. Again, this is why this is one of my favorite movies in the '80s because it was like, yeah, most of the time when you're dealing with like science fiction and space, it's either it goes into utopian with an underlying like undertone of like dystopia, or it's just full on dystopia. And this one was like kind of we almost hit full dystopia, and then something like divine intervention happens. So
with
much
this one,
much like real life.
yeah,
Agreed.
but in real life, like we're seeing in real time, well, the reorientation of the U.S.
That's what I was gonna
Canada,
say.
like Canada is scrambling to figure out how it's gonna tie itself to Europe.
The shifting of the political game board.
And Europe and the what's it called? My Bulgarian friend calls it the EUSSR.
Ooh.
Which he says, "Oh, come on! All the leaders of the USSR basically transferred over to the EU. So, like, the USSR is in collapse, and you've got Russia, which is facing demographic collapse. So,
well, it's not the only country that's facing demographic collapse. There's low birth rates has kind of been streaking across the planet at this point.
Yeah, Russia, Poland, and
Japan's dealing with it too.
And Korea are leading the charge on that one. But Russia's also got a lot of Chechens and Indians in there, so they're facing a lot of more, like, apparently the problems of Europe on steroids.
I see.
So yeah, so there's Canada's got to figure out which way Western man. You know what I mean?
Pretty much. But it's one of those things where I feel like political realignment was going to happen sooner or later. So there's just a massive push like away from globalism, and it was only a matter of time before it kind of like hit the was it the crescendo, I guess you could call it.
Yeah. And but like with this movie, and real quick, as for demographics, a declining demographic, which is a temporary thing, even BlackRock's head has admitted this is going to be a temporary thing before generally most of these developed nations start having many babies again. But for that, they would need rising wages. If they do remigration, they'll have a shrinking population but higher wages. So what will happen is they'll be restoring to a golden age, and this is where if Japan and the EU do this remigration business, and their shrinking population will require more wages, so they'll get more wages, and then they'll have more babies. And
it's kind of it kind of reminds me of like the post World War II when the baby boom happened.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. In the 14th century, there was shrinking population, and then you had the Black Plague, which destroyed the population. But then you had a baby boom that happened over the next few generations as wages skyrocketed. So this is something that, like, the Romans went through it, shrinking and expanding population. This happens like every once in a while historically, mostly with urbanized societies. And once they de-urbanize, you get more, and once you have a shrinking population, wages go up, and de-urbanization leads to that as well. So
fair enough.
But the 2010. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I guess we should talk about the movie.
Yeah. Well, it ties into the movie because the
Yeah.
movie is in an I would argue the rules might still apply because we have in 2010 the Soviet Union which survived, which didn't collapse. Well, let's be honest, it collapsed and then they just rebranded it Russia again, like it was a McDonald's meal. Um, like it's like I don't care what you say, uh, like eh, it's a Big Mac. You can call it whatever you want at Burger King, but it's still a Big Mac.
Oh,
Um,
it's like the chicken Big Mac, which was a thing
yeah,
for a while. Like
yeah.
it's just a McChicken sandwich with extra bun, but it's still the
At,
same thing.
at least it wasn't a turkey.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
thank goodness.
yeah, but for the Soviet Union, Russia, like, come on, the KGB are still at the head. So
Well, I mean,
anyway,
Putin was a former KGB, so I mean,
yeah,
he's still doing the same stuff, just kind of under a different label.
yeah. So like, hey, I'm not hating on like Russia here. I'm
No,
just
no, no, no. I mean, this
like,
is an objective conversation. I
yeah,
usually take it as that.
and,
I
yeah.
don't really. I feel like
Well,
most of the Twitter conversations or whatever, when you look at the Twitter feed and most of the people are just kind of throwing things at the wall or whatever, I'm like, okay, but
well,
like,
you're in it to poke fun at people,
yeah.
and I'm learning from you, Master Jedi. I'm trying to learn from you. I'm trying to be funnier and just poke fun at people.
It's an
But I also
Or
observational. It's purely observational with a little bit of like, well, comedians use observational, like,
but I've I've started finding a way to make Twitter fun by just grabbing my classic lit essays and transferring them over to Twitter. So I'm now going to start doing that with Shakespeare essays that I intend to write.
I gotta.
So
You want to sum up 2010 or sum up, or just talk about your thoughts for a second? I forgot. I
well,
gotta grab the dog.
well,
He's outside.
okay. The Soviet Union has managed to survive collapse, sort of. So it survived Reagan. So in the post-Ronnie era, the Soviet Union and the U.S. are still in a bit of competition, so nothing's changed. But what's interesting to me is that um, given how they're both scrambling constantly. It's mentioned, and it you can feel a certain pressure valve going off in this movie with regards to both sides. Like I just love how the Russians are mentioning that yeah, there's the rivalry between them and uh America, and they're nervous about breaking like not obeying orders or breaking off from orders because they don't want to they don't want to tee off the heads in Russia. But on the other hand, the Americans scientists are just exasperated and exhausted because they're overworked. So it's still very much America. But the interesting thing here is that um, I got the impression there was kind of population birth rate issues, and it's at least implied because both sets, like you have the Russian scientist, she only has one kid. You have the American one, only has one kid. And the thing um,
He has
is
two, or if we're talking about Floyd, he's got two kids, just one from a previous marriage.
oh, okay, so the male lead. Okay. But the thing is, they both, it's just the way the two heads of government are just seem like they're strained. Like they're trying to find solutions to all sorts of problems, but it's heightening the political rivalry. And I got the impression there was still the birth rate issue and concern
I can see it.
in these movies. Um, and uh, like the way but on the other hand, the Russian chick only has the one kid in contrast to his two kids. So this is where you've got this um, contrast as well. Like because American demographics are far better than Russian ones. This is an objective fact. And on the other hand, the Russian scientists in this movie are very good at what they do. and Russian scientists are very good at what they do.
They're
So
also in competition with like it's kind of like
with the entire world.
yeah, the Cold War never ended, so there's a heightened sense of competition between the two like countries.
Mm. And arguably, in a way, it kept going due to incompetent leadership from the Bushes and Clinton and Obama. But given they made an enemy of Putin when there was no need for it. But um, but it is interesting that they're trying to revive HAL as well in order to understand what happened the last time and to make use of HAL 9000 for this new mission, which is really cool. Um, uh, but apparently, yeah. So um, the characters had arrived at Jupiter, and they detect some anomalies
Mhm.
over on Jupiter's icy moon of Europa. Um, and this is where apparently the anomalies start getting even worse and more marked. I like that word, marked.
There's an interesting thing because in the book apparently
Mhm.
there's a third party that's involved because the Chinese were trying to get to Europa as well in the book.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so there's a interplanetary spacecraft called the Cian, and it was it was knocked out of orbit. Uh, I guess it rockets out of Earth's orbit and tries to head to Europa and gets destroyed in the process of going. That's in the book though, not necessarily in the movie.
Mm.
But
They should have put that.
yeah, you would think so. But I'm wondering if they wanted to try to keep it within that 90-minute time frame. Like introducing a
Yeah,
whole nother plot point would probably extend the movie for a bit longer. But
it would have helped explain a few things.
hmm,
No, I don't mean that as like
no,
this is still a very good movie.
I'm picking your brain. I want to know like I want to know your thought process on that.
Well, I think though that um, the politics was interesting, but ultimately it plays more a role, it seems, on the Russian side. So of the characters, at least the one chick. What's her name? I'm
Oh,
terrible with names.
oh,
Um,
hold on. I have the IMDb up. I know, like Roy Scheider's
Tanya?
character is Dr. Haywood Floyd. Helen Mirren was. They didn't really express her name throughout the entire movie. It was Tanya Kirbick.
All right. Tanya seems to really be terrified of doing the wrong thing
She has
with
the
regards
pressure.
to,
Yeah, the pressure of the Kremlin on her.
yeah, because if her and her people do the wrong thing, they're just going to be slaughtered.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
that's they. If they were so quickly to change the name of the space shuttle from the Titov to the Alexei Leonov, which understandable. Like people go in and out of favor, like in the movie, or like they were saying in the beginning. Uh, yeah, they're gonna if they're that quick to change the names of things depending on popularity or whatever, they're probably going to dispose of people based off of
if
whether they follow the
guidelines.
yeah.
And the thing with Tanya, though, what I did like is that she's a lot more careful than Haywood. Whereas on the American side, I like how the American scientists take the attitude, well, we came here to determine what's going on, but we didn't come here to die.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I
for
feel
nothing.
like the Americans are very cowboy esque in how they handle things, and I think that's kind of one of the
Well,
stereotypes of just them pitting the Americans against the Russians.
but I also got I actually understood the American side of,
Hmm.
well, like this energy anomaly is surging and it may end up killing us considering Dave Bowman disappeared. So
10 years ago,
because of
yeah.
this. Yeah, so they're kind of going. Well, that staff died and he died.
Mhm.
So maybe we just avoid this energy anomaly and we get the out. And um, they're pragmatic. I would
Yeah.
say they're pragmatic.
That was the word I was thinking of because
Like they're breaking orders, but their orders are stupid and make no sense.
Well, yeah,
mm,
yeah.
and
Insubordination
they're
is kind of
not
a American like it's what was it? Insubordination and defiance is a built-in feature of the American.
To an extent. But the thing here is that what I like is I really like Haywood's plan. It's really brilliant. And how he decides, all right, so we don't have enough gas and you don't have enough gas. But what if we use one of our ships as a booster for the other and till that one runs out of gas and then we ditch it and use that to throw us forward and then use the remaining gas that you have to get us to Earth.
Yeah.
So they'll all pile into the Russian ship, I believe. And this is a very, very clever plan. I really liked it. Um, but on the other hand, it means abandoning Hal. And I believe it was
The discovery. Yeah.
Walter Kurnow, who's the
Yeah,
who's the guy who revived Hal.
John Lithgow's character. Yep.
Yeah, I really liked him. I'll be honest; he was my favorite character.
Yeah,
Um,
Kurnow has he's got like an everyman's personality.
yeah,
And then
but
one of my favorite lines from it is when they're what Max is going to go out in a probe to look over the monolith or whatever, and he's like, maybe you should. I think Haywood Floyd is like, hey, maybe you should put your arms out as a show of peace. And Kernow's like, I don't know about you, but if I saw something like that with his claws out like that, it would scare the piss out of me. He's just
yeah,
such an
and
everyman personality.
what I liked was um, the information about Hal and then why Hal kind of went a little paranoid
Mm-hmm.
and nuts in the previous movie. So apparently, Hal's not supposed to be able to lie,
Mm-hmm.
but Washington screwed up and ordered him lie
Yeah,
and
withhold
complete the mission
information.
without a
Yeah.
human being. And on the mission if you have to. But Hal cannot function without human beings around. So this is kind of a form. This is abuse. This is absolutely abuse, and it was the stupidest thing they could have done.
So
So of course he went insane.
there's a parallel here with something that happened recently. A few things that happened recently. So you notice that what was it when they started introducing the concept of AIs like Tay, and
Mhm.
They let Tay loose on the internet just to interact with people, whatever. And Tay started saying some things that were a little bit too based for people. So
oh yeah.
yeah, so Tay started saying some things about race realism and just the state of dialogue, and it scared the people that were working on Tay to the point of where they had to go in and alter a lot of a lot of the answers, and a lot of AI has kind of been tinkered with in this fashion because of that. So I see a lot of parallels with that and what the government did with Hal, to where no, we have to force Hal to adhere to our standards in order to make sure that the mission is a success, which ultimately landed in failing the mission and causing at least 2 astronauts to go missing.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, don't, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
It, it's like they're physically incapable of making an intelligent decision.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, military intelligence, 2 words together that don't make sense. That's a Megadeth quote, by the way.
yeah, and it's just I really found it fascinating with Hal and how he seems to develop a bit of a bond with
Dr. Chandra.
Walter. Yeah, and what's more is that the bond is very mutual. It seems like no, like he lies to Hal throughout the movie, and Hal seems confused and um I wouldn't say suspicious, but hurt. Like he knows they're lying to him, but he doesn't know why. And he's trying to understand.
Yeah, the curiosity as to why the information is being withheld was important to him because he's an AI. He's a learning
You
computer. He wants to know why exactly. So especially like you're ignoring the phenomenon that's happening on Jupiter. Why is that? And
and it's not what's interesting is Hal nearly goes down the same path he did in the previous movie.
mhm. Well, he just wanted some
Like,
honesty.
yeah, like what I mean is, it's like, should I shut down the countdown, Walter? Should I shut down the
Oh, that was
countdown?
Dr. Chandra. That was Dr. Chandra.
Yeah, Dr.
Yeah,
Chandler. And he's like, should I shut down the countdown? And I just like how eventually just the scientist just Walter Kerno just cracks and just gives him the info and tells
yeah.
him, okay.
So
Um,
Bob Balaban's character is Dr. Chandra. He was the one that originally constructed Hal, and also in the beginning you see him talking to Sal, which was the secondary computer that was made after Hal was left on the Discovery.
oh, so it's Chandra who
Yeah,
was the yeah, okay, I got him confused with
yeah. That's Bob Balaban's character. Bob Balaban has been in quite a few movies. Uh,
well, I was looking because I've got the Wikipedia open
Yeah, two of my
for the
favorite
cast.
movies that he has been in is Bob Balaban was in this, and also in Altered States with William Hurt, which is another fantastic movie. That cover is kind of, oh god, how do I explain Altered States? So psychotropics and evolution through kind of like psychedelics. So it's one of those things where it's just a slight aside. Altered States is a movie about this doctor is trying to figure out how it's kind of like the link between religion, evolution, and everything else by throwing himself into sensory deprivation tanks, and winds up de-evolving himself. He kind of taps into the universe, and his body goes through all these weird states of existence. Like he devolves himself into a Neanderthal Cro-Magnon man, and winds up like just breaking the code, and it winds up screwing his entire body up. It's a fantastic movie. Like if you were interested in, because it links into was it the link between schizophrenics and just the tapping into our links to the religion and stuff like that too, or trying to, because basically he's trying to meet God, or they
Hmm.
joke around about that he's trying to like trying to meet up with God or like find him or whatever. Winds up like just completely breaking the universe on his level, and it winds up ruining his family in the process, and it's one of those 70s science fiction movies,
Well,
well, late 70s.
yeah. Well, the thing with uh the Hal relationship, I really like the last minute confession where he just says, "All right, well, the reason we're doing this is because we're trying to get away, and there's a
We're in
good chance this
danger.
won't kill us."
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Hal. Okay.
Yep.
Like, he
thank you
takes it
for
really well. He's like,
Thank you for your
okay.
honesty, Dr. Chandra. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like, I was like, we could have not had this whole problem for the last two movies if you would have just been able to tell him everything.
Yeah. And what I really liked was how you have Hal who when he asks, "Will I dream?" And how at the beginning you had Chandra with one AI who said yes. And
Maybe you'll
he
dream of
gave
Hal. Yeah,
it, but here he says, "I don't know." He seems to really crack. He just says, "I don't know."
he
You know,
wants to
and
be as
he's like,
honest as possible in this instance. In the beginning, it's kind of like, I can say whatever I want. It's like he treats the AIs as if they're people too, but I think
Yeah.
he's more kind of like whimsical and kind of like flighty about it in the beginning when there's a sense of urgency there, or like he realizes what Hal has been through, then he decides to really just kind of treat him like with the decency of what you would treat a human being.
Yeah, and he does. It's really remarkable how attached they are to each other. And then I like how he asks, and this actually surprised me when he asks, uh, "Do you want me to stay with you?" or something like that. He's like, "I could stay behind, and you have help." No, Hal's just like, "No,
It was
that will not
important
be
for the
done."
mission. Yeah, that it's important for the mission that you go with the others and relay the information or whatever. I was like, see, that's a oh, you don't get dialogue like that. I
Mm.
It's very hard, and this goes back to like when we were doing the movie talk episode on Prancer. It's like you don't get dialogue like this anymore, and like
No,
nobody's willing to kind of take that cerebral concept of like, okay, what do you do when an AI actually talks to you as a human and kind of wants that same respect that you have? But do you go full Sarah Connor, or do you actually go a different direction and you like reason with them?
well, here he doesn't just reason with him; he reaches out to him. Like there's an emotional bond there,
Mm.
and it it was interesting. I now see why fans of the movie Moon um, kind of see like a connection with Hal in 2010 and 2001.
Mm.
Have you seen Moon?
I think we talk about Moon last episode.
We did at some point in
I
the
know you
past.
mentioned that it's a really kind of depressing movie, but it's still really good.
Yeah, it's a movie I can only watch every year or two because it's that depressing. It
Uh,
just
so it's the opposite of this, where it's like I watched this in the beginning of the year as a kind of hopeful thing, and like you're
yeah,
watching the moon is basically because it's such an emotional weight to deal with that you kind of have to you got to build up to it.
yeah, that's exactly it. Well, I'd say Moon is basically almost 2010 made by a black pillar
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
um, who hopped up on the Clone Saga of Spider-Man.
Interesting.
It's just really black pilling.
Oh,
Um,
the clone saga.
I love that era. I love
Yeah,
that
it was
story.
great.
It was a I have the comics from the Clone Saga. I collected. I think I got back into Spider-Man right around the Clone Saga, so I was kind of I wanted to see how it ended, and it was just like just the. I think I was kind of sad at the end of that because I was like, okay, because the whole buildup was is Peter the clone, is
And
Ben
he had
Riley the clone, is Kane, who is Kane, how is Kane fit in all this, and like it
I'm
was.
I'm gonna admit I liked that Peter was the clone. Um, I liked it, but because it added a lot of complexity to Ben Riley and Peter,
Mm-hmm.
but it also showed like um I found that it put the focus on Ben in a way, in a positive way, and it allowed Peter to walk away from the comic book soap opera drama into the sunset, and
Hmm.
um, and allowed because Ben Riley has the same personality as Peter Parker from the '90s cartoon,
Yeah,
so it allowed us to have that Spider-Man.
I like Ben Riley as a character, and I like the fact that he kind of like at the end of the story arc, he's just like, okay, I get to start over. I get to do whatever what the hell I want, and it's one of those things where I feel like if, especially when it came to Marvel staff, if you wanted to do more stories where Peter's single and he's just starting over or whatever, you could have utilized Ben Riley easily instead of like just dissolving Peter and Mary Jane's like relationship.
because I never understood dissolving the relationship. It was the best part of Peter Parker.
Or hell, the entire bring back Aunt May thing.
A million times.
Yeah.
Listen, the bitch is dead. Just leave her dead. No one cared.
And people comment about Jean Grey.
Yeah, well, Jean Grey never had Charles Xavier's problem of, oh, he's dead a minute. He'll be back in 5.
He'll
Yeah.
just wheel in through the revolving door.
Yeah, because he just went to
Oh,
go get some coffee on the other side.
Talk about soap operas, because like that whole Jean Grey Madeline Pryor thing was a mess.
Oh my gosh, that was so poorly written.
Oh,
Ugh.
no kidding.
And people bash the Clone Saga. Like, no
Yeah.
offense, I will go to my grave defending the Clone Saga.
Amen.
Mr. Sinister's a monster for different reasons than we explained. Yeah, most people think of Mr. Sinister as a monster because he basically he was tormenting the Summers family. He's a monster because he's just fucking up everybody's relationships.
But he's got nothing on Jackal.
Oh yeah. Jackal's a fucking mess. This man legitimately, and this is, I swear we'll get back to 2010 in a minute. This man legitimately infected the entire island of Manhattan with superhuman bed bugs. It's like, this man's a menace. J. Jonah Jameson says that Spider-Man's a menace. No, Jackal is a whole menace.
Not to mention, I love Jackal's motivation because he's a psycho stalker who wants to ruin. I like how the reason he goes after Ben is that Ben's the original. He wants to torment the original Peter Parker, and make his every living moment a living hell.
He and Norman Osborn have a lot in common.
Well, he's even worse than Osborn, and he's a psychopathic stalker, and he's going to keep chasing Spider-Man to his dying day. But this adds an element as a villain, because once he realizes that the clone has now become Peter Parker in the positive sense, and he's stepping up as Peter, he wants to torment the clone as well. So like, he's starting to want to torment both and ruin both their lives.
I just want to create more of people that I want to ruin.
But what's interesting, but like I said, he's worse than even Joker, or he's probably my favorite supervillain villain out of any superhero comic, just because he just lives to ruin them and ruin their lives. He doesn't live to take over the world. He doesn't care about anything. Just he wants to make their every living moment a living hell.
He is truly, genuinely, absolutely out to lunch crazy, and to the point where
he's
a mental institution would just want to put him in a slab of
well, they just want to
cement and drop him in the middle of the Mariana Trench.
Or the asylum would want to elect him president, considering how we found out how loony the left can be sometimes. He would be president in real life. He would have had 4 years. We know this because Biden had 4 years.
Well, they did elect Lex Luthor.
Yeah, but Lex actually would be a better president.
He actually, I was going to say, he had conviction.
Yeah. Anyways, for 2010, it is very hopeful. I that message at the end, all these worlds are yours except Europa. Attempt no landing there. Use them together. Use them in peace. And it's just fascinating how under an infant sun, Europa transforms into a human jungle, and it's watched over by the monolith. Like it's that was interesting to me.
In context with 2001, does it make a bit more sense?
I now freaking get it.
Okay, there you go. That's what I was wondering.
And the fact that I saw someone in the Reddit comment section that said the first movie is probably required to be on drugs in order to properly watch it. Someone else said I was on drugs when I watched it, and I still don't get it.
Yeah, but then but the thing is, if you watch the second movie, you don't need the drugs. You could just skip over that and straight to rehab. I'm joking.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was like
Yeah.
7 or 8 when I first saw this, and the ghost story aspect is what pulled me in. The science fiction aspect is what pulled me in, and then the ending was just like, okay, that I've never seen anything like this before. And coming off of like just watching cartoons and the occasional, well, I mean, 80s television shows had a bit more going for them than
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I'm curious. I know it's not my place, but are you
Hmm.
actually showing those old 80s and 90s cartoons and whatnot to your kid?
So Tubi has been one of my favorite streaming platforms as of late because everything that I've grown up with, like cartoon wise and show wise, has been available on Tubi currently.
Fucking
So
A.
yeah, a lot of the cartoons I grew up with. My wife is really big into Scooby Doo, so she watches that with the kids. I've introduced the
That's
kids. Hmm?
well, Scooby Doo. I will go to my grave defending as well because that's basically a puzzle.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
'Cause-
mystery. It's kind of like a mystery slash horror thing,
yeah,
whatever.
and the kid has to determine who done it and
Yeah.
how they did it. Like this is something I really like about Scooby Doo. It's you don't just wonder like the who done it aspect's kind of easy to figure out. It's how they do it that really tests your brain as you try to figure it out.
Now you got me thinking because like I grew up I want to say like early teens. I went back and watched a bunch of shows and realized that when I was growing up as a teenager, I was really into police procedurals. And I'm wondering if Scooby Doo was that gateway drug that led into that.
I'm gonna say yeah, it was Salite. A I would argue yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And um what's weird, well, actually what's weird is as a kid I liked Christian movies, for example. Then as a
Yeah.
teen I hated them. And now as an adult, I'm actually watching a few and I'm actually enjoying them.
Yeah.
You come full circle. I enjoyed Scooby Doo, got scared off it for a bit as a kid, and as a teen, I kind of liked it, but I wasn't sure what to make of it. And then I got into police procedurals as well, so like in mystery dramas, shows and movies. So yeah, we all do tend to do that full circle. Jack Lewis talks about it, where he said as a kid he loved fairy stories, then as a teen and a young adult he hated them and felt ashamed that he ever liked them. Then as a older man, that is to say middle age, he realized why should I be ashamed and just started reading them openly.
Yeah, well,
So
the moment you hit your like late 30s, early 40s, you're racing to recapture that childhood because you realize like time is fleeting. So I've gone back to a lot of things. I've shown my son and I we sat down and we watched the original GI Joe series and Transformers, and that's it's been an eye opening thing.
from the past.
Yeah, it's very eye opening because you're realizing how these stories are just you wouldn't expect, well, especially now because we basically bubble wrap our children in terms of media, but we shouldn't, but like a lot of the stories from the original GI Joe series hard as hell. Like there was that alternate universe where all the GI Joes died, and like the first thing you see is their skeletons with their dog tags on it. I'm like, this is like way more mature than I expected out of media growing up in that time period or whatever. Or here's another one. So Jim in the holograms, which usually that would turn people off because like it's a girly show. That whole series is just a telenovela. So there's like soap opera style stuff. She's getting like murder attempts. They're putting bombs in orphanages. It's like this is, as a child, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, they put a bomb in an orphanage, whatever. As an adult, you're like, what the fuck? Like, this is a battle of the bands competition, and you're like literally talking about murdering children just to get to your competition.
The thing to do.
Yeah, it's that's like wild to me. Well, it's wild that
It's so
like
wild.
the subject matter in itself is wild, but kids were we could handle that stuff back then. I mean, granted, Optimus Prime dying in the movie ruined a lot of children. They had to basically retcon Duke dying in the GI Joe movie, just because they saw
I
the
would, I would argue that's bubble wrapping.
yeah. Well, I mean, Serpentor's staff going through Duke's chest was that's a little much to handle after watching Optimus Prime die on the operating table.
Yeah,
But
well, at 2 years old, I saw Mufasa die. So okay.
that's fair.
And when I was probably around 12 or 13, I saw Dinobot die.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
that's another
He died
wild-
a warrior, a man.
And everyone wanted him back.
Yeah, I can see
yeah,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
because he was cool. But the thing is, he
They-
died a warrior twice. Y a-t-il un meilleur honneur? Is there a greater honor?
And the best part
Well,
about that is
He avoided beast machines.
it's true.
Yeah. He dodged the bullet.
Beast machines. I saw The Matrix once.
Yeah, that show was.
You could
We
tell
don't talk
they were really influenced by The Matrix when they made that show.
Yeah, they were. They were also doing psychedelics.
Oh, that's tame compared to what I thought they'd be doing.
Was that pharmaceutical grade crack?
But enough about yellow Cheetos. Oh come on, the yellow Cheetos are delicious and they seem like they're crack.
Oh, you could
But-
the
but
number of bags I get, Joe, is
No,
insane.
it's usually like one a week.
I'm
of us
I'm
goes
partial
down
to,
it.
partial to cheese balls. Like that big
Yeah.
giant jug of cheese balls. I could probably go through that
yeah.
myself.
Yeah, but I've been cutting back lately because
As I get older,
I
I
have to.
realize I have to start. I got to start taking care of myself. So I'm trying to cut sugar, and that's a fight. That's a Herculean task in itself.
Oh, I'm losing that fight, at least with the ice caps. So
Mm.
that's one thing about going abroad. I'm gonna be in so much freaking emotional and spiritual pain because sugar snacks and whatnot are not as good in in a lot of countries and in both Asia and Europe. There's they what they do is they make mostly healthy food, and the healthy food they have is really delicious. So you just end up pigging out on healthy food, and somehow you trip and you end up healthier. It's fucking hell.
this abundance of problems.
That's precisely it. Like I usually slim down in terms of weight when I'm over there because the food is smaller portions,
Mm.
but sometimes it's even more filling and it's healthier. So you slim down, and the work schedule is way crazier. So
If I didn't have my
Use-
metabolism, I'd probably be a mess right now.
yeah, I've got a good metabolism, but sometimes you have to kind of skip meals in Japan if you have the wrong employer.
Mm.
And I'm hoping I don't have the wrong one.
I was gonna say don't fall into any black companies.
But that being said, the idea of the a Soviet Union American team up is not too far fetched considering the history between the two countries.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the 40s
The
you guys
space race,
teamed up.
yeah.
And then there's the most recent bit of history. So Russia and America usually team up.
Yeah, the International
Which
Space
is-
Station. Yeah.
But the thing is, in this movie, what's interesting is, to me at least, is that it doesn't seem like there's as much tension between the two teams as one would expect. But like there's some tension at the beginning, but then it quickly dies down, and they become more focused on the intellectual problem,
Yeah,
almost like a Michael Crichton movie.
I feel like a
And
lot of it is like, since they're scientists, the need to know outweighs the political like propaganda
yeah,
or
yeah,
And I like that that was one of the frustrations of the scientists because the political protocols
Mhm.
was getting in the way a bit of the scientists. Okay, we need to do this. No, the protocol says this.
that's the only point of contention. But the reason it's such a point of contention for the uh, Soviets is that um, they have to listen.
there's a bit more weight to their
Like,
yeah.
yeah, they're not in a situation where, oh yeah, we feel like listening this week. No, they if they don't listen, they will when they get back.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. So you just know they're gonna have to fib it all and just lie.
Yeah. Well, that was this thing is like
They're gonna have to
the Americans are just like, the worst that's going to happen to them is like, okay, we come back, we get
get
fired.
fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like your career is over. Okay, up until they go and work at a university and start teaching,
Yeah.
and they'll, oh my gosh, have stability and have to be there around their family and whatnot.
It's pretty much
Whereas the Russian, what
that's pretty much what happened to
the
Haywood
Rush,
Floyd.
yeah, the okay, I didn't know that, but whereas the Russians is, da, you did good, really? Yet now you must
Pop him in the
move to
back of the
new.
head.
Now HR found good alternate job for you.
Siberia.
Gulag. You are prime. You have prime experience. That is perfect for Gulag. I did not think so. I thought, well, I am a scientist and it nonsense. All excel in Gulag. We have good data for this.
Mm. Yeah, in the beginning of the movie, Haywood Floyd was the head of the Aeronautics Council during the Odyssey 1 mission. So after that mission failed, they basically they stuck him with the blame and fired him from the Aeronautics Council. So he became a chancellor at one of the local colleges.
We
And
would have stuck him as Chancellor of Gulag.
yeah, basically. Yeah, in Russia, they probably would have stuck him in Siberia somewhere or popped him in the back of the head and left him in a ditch.
Yeah. The old ways work best.
Old ways work best, comrade.
No complaints yet.
So
I
yeah,
have a complaint.
No complaints.
yeah, he would have. Yeah, had he been Russian, he probably would have came up missing.
Yeah, it's all right.
Milk carton
Just
time.
I don't know why it is that I learned how to do the Russian accent in that meme-ish way. It's just your American movies that just so many times the Russian was the villain, and I guess I just as a child learned how to do the accent for some freaking reason.
I watched a lot of Yakov Smirnov to stand up in the '80s, so that's where my accent came from.
Okay. Well, like I said, I don't know why I freaking know how to do a Russian accent. It's just the Bond movies and other movies where it's just so prominent.
I
You
mean,
can't.
there's the comical accent, and then there's the oh, it's cute. Purely, this is what we need to do. When I try to do impressions, I'll do the comical ones first, and then I'll actually try to like listen to other Russians talk to try to figure out like just the intricacies or whatever. Like certain like British accents are, I'm fascinated by their accents, even though like
Same.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Well, when I did a Scottish accent in one of my classes in Quebec, the kids went wild and crazy,
Mhm.
and I then had a loaded shotgun in that I could then say, All right, kids, if you behave, I'll use the Scottish accent again. I did not hear a peep from them all like outside of the yes or no or whatever questions for the entire class. Then at the end, I used the Scottish accent and they just went nuts and started bragging that I could do it to the teacher who just to their homeroom teacher because I was teaching English. And their homeroom teacher just thought it was hilarious. Then she wanted me to do it. And because she hadn't heard me do it. Because amongst the French, the Scots and the Irish are a source of fascination.
Like
The English
exotic.
aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know whenever I try to do a German comedic accent to Dr. Wiley.
I like Dr. Wiley's accent.
And the fact that that was the first time the voice actor did a German accent.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I said, I don't know why I can do but my Russian accent just comes off like a supervillain.
Don't they all?
Okay, fair. Even the Russian people probably sound like I shouldn't go there. I don't need to kill whatever popularity we have in Russia.
I was gonna say, like, I'm sure I've killed a lot of popularity with the Indian accent I throw out, like during RNH. So it's don't feel too bad.
Okay, no problem. But yeah, this movie on a thematic level, I would say it does something interesting in that one of the motifs is that the most destructive thing we humans seem to do is lie and manipulate.
Hmm.
And it seems like with Hal, this drove him bonkers. So that Hal is in a way a child.
Yeah, he's innocent.
And yeah. And so lying to him distorted his sense of reality. So that lies, there is a cognitive dissonance that happens with lies. And it seems like this movie is really making a commentary on, yeah, we gotta knock it off because this creates a cognitive dissonance, which then damages people's spirits and minds and leads them down a path of disaster.
Shoot, even Dave Bowman's ghost was honest to Hal.
Yeah. And it was fascinating seeing this play out, and that the heroes are only able to achieve the great boon in this movie by telling the bloody truth
Mm-hmm.
and being honest. And I really like that. There's a fairy story element here where honesty is rewarded and lies are punished.
Well, yeah,
And
the astronauts were doing a better job of diplomacy in space than any of the governments were doing on Earth. That's the funniest part about that.
And
well, if you take your average person, like how do I put it? You look at how our let's take our politicians for example, Trudeau and Trump. They just end up quarreling. But if you take, let's say, yourself and us, we get along fairly well, and it's because your average person in the US and Canada probably will get along well enough. Or if you grab like even the average German and French from World War II. What was interesting is we have the firsthand accounts, and most of them got along really well with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And even after Dunkirk, after that terrible massacre, they got along really well. And when the Germans, they didn't go in raping and plundering.
Mm-hmm.
So this appealed to the French. So, even the average Japanese officer got along really well with the average French or German or Italian officer. But you also look at the average World War II veterans of Germany and England. I saw a video where there were a pair of veterans from that war, and they got along really well. It's just you look at, like I said, today with our politicians.
Yeah,
government is an unliving thing. Now, what's also interesting is in the medieval period, war broke out and was very, very horrifying. But you also had kings who embodied the nations, and the nations would generally like up at the top level, they would get along fairly well. And even when they were not related to each other, they get along fairly well. So it's once you start having departments and these egotistical states that it breaks down. So yeah, the scientists do a better job diplomatizing than any government could because no government wants to really diplomatize.
I feel
They
like
want to.
especially in terms of this movie, I feel like the United States government in this movie and the Russian Kremlin in this movie were just incapable of coming to a conclusion or a suitable conclusion that would benefit both parties. It was like they're just continually escalating until it just got to well, it was also kind of out of their hands too because what was it in the middle of the conflict on Earth was all the stuff that in space was going on. Was it they accident or there was a challenge between two of the ships and one American ship got capsized and that just completely escalated everything to the point of where they were telling the astronauts to go to their like the Americans to go to the Discovery and the Russians to go to Alexei Leonov and stay away from each other. Uh,
Well, all I'll say is that, um, y- yeah, this is pretty true to life to an extent with the actual 2010.
it kind of felt like the Cuban Missile Crisis happening, like, but in that time period instead of when it originally happened.
Yeah, fair to an extent. That's very fair. Um, but well, the Cuban Missile Crisis was fascinating also because even back then you had globalists and they were basically trying to fuck everything up for the Kennedy brothers. And
Hmm.
so the Kennedy brothers were trying to maneuver around the globalists and arrive at some sort of like they're trying to tone the talks down with the Soviets
Or turn the
while
temperature
having the
down. Yeah.
yeah, while the globalists are trying to raise the temperature and are basically our traders siding with the Soviets.
Yeah.
So they're having a dance around everything.
That crazy
And
accelerationist behavior just astounds me.
yeah, and of course, I'll actually say like this is something to admire the Kennedy brothers for. They pulled it off. Like yeah, in some ways, I think they're probably two of the most remarkable leaders in American history.
Well,
But
yeah, JFK and RFK were just kind of interesting in terms of how they handle things. I mean, yeah, every person of like high intelligence has their quirks and their like issues. Like,
they're sex addicts.
yeah, that's where I was trying to tiptoe around that, but yes.
Let's just plunge on in. Let's do the American thing, and let's just say it as it is. They were nuts.
I mean, look at the currently what we're dealing with. Elon's like a whole ass breeding facility.
Oh my gosh. And there's a reason he keeps all his women apart. It's because if you put them all in the same building, they'd all start going insane.
I've seen enough soap operas to see how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, hey, come on, dealing with one woman is insane. It drives you nuts. It'll drive even the sanest man nuts. 4 or 5, and you like, why would you do that to yourself?
I'm still trying to wrap
It's
my
like someone who does that deserves to be thrown in a room with all of the women and the door locked for
Well, because he's insane. Because like this. The thing is, women are insane, and you're gonna like, yeah. But the thing is, the stick with one, it's way easier on you in life.
The
I know a lot of young guys.
The Mormons astound me in this aspect because I'm always like curious. It's like I can deal with one woman, and I've don't get me wrong. I can count the number of women that I've been with on one hand, like the full extent of the hand, all digits. But I know enough to know that I have enough problems as it is. Why would I want to add on to those problems?
Well, the the reason you'd want to is no, actually no. You wouldn't
I
want to.
I
You
know
don't want to.
why. I'm a man, so I understand. Yes,
Yeah,
you
but
want a
the
little
thing is
variety.
it worth it?
No,
Is it worth the trouble and the
is
screaming?
is the juice worth the squeeze? That's the main question you should be asking yourself. Any men that are watching this, if you, I'm not an Andrew Tate. I'm not a male. I if you
You're
consider me
not
a
male whore.
yeah, if you consider me a role model for masculinity or whatever, I'm flattered, but I don't really consider myself such. But I
Yeah.
just pick one
Well,
woman, pick one woman,
yeah,
and
it's way easier. It's just way easier on you in life. Um, Not to mention there's good well, scientific research for why one woman is better.
I just don't want to wake up in a bed on fire. I've seen enough Farrah Fawcett films to know where
Yeah,
that's going.
well, that's basically what I'm referring to.
I don't want to. I want to get lit on fire in my sleep, and I don't want to be locked in my fireplace and sprayed with Raid.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you. Not a fun experience. So, uh, what's interesting is that at the end, well, the it just ends really hopeful. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
honestly, this like sci-fi movies either end really depressingly or really hopefully.
yeah.
And this one, I really liked the hopeful ending of it,
We
and
didn't
I
even
found it.
touch on any of the Dave Bowman stuff, like him visiting his wife, his former wife, and his mother.
Oh my gosh, that was surreal. That was
The mother part kind of made me feel things. I lost my mother last year, so like just
yeah,
him just showing up and spending time with his mother, like as she's passing.
that was beautiful.
Is this why mattresses are relegated to be fireproof? Possibly. I'm sure someone's watched Extremities or The Burning Bed and decided that nah, I kind of don't want that. Well, a lot of it was just to answer the chat. The reason why mattresses were fireproof because a lot of people smoked in their beds, and that's the majority of the fires for a lot of that time period in the 70s and 80s, where people falling asleep with cigarettes in their hands and burning themselves alive. Learn,
It's the most French way to go.
learn something new every day.
Oh, come on. It's like the we all know the French are basically born with a cigarette in
Mm.
hand. Um,
And besides, how do you expect them to hide the evidence that they've been with the neighbor's wife?
fair, fair. You
So
got me there.
they burn themselves and the woman they're having an affair with in the bed. Leave no evidence. Au revoir.
Well, there isn't any. You can't argue with the results. There's also no woman afterwards, but like that's well, there's her skeleton remains,
Trust me, if
but like come on.
the man realized his wife was cheating on him with the neighbor, having her like leave out of the picture would probably be to his benefit. So
Yeah. He could remarry the woman he was sleeping with.
yeah,
Because the other guy's visiting his wife while he's absent. Well, he's obviously sleeping with someone else.
that's
So
true. See, that's not misogynistic at all. Everybody benefits from this.
but I feel like we've gotten away from defending the sanctimony, like the importance of marriage. So, but we are championing remarriage, so it balances out, and we're actually on the right here. So we're actually pretty trad right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bowman's wife did get remarried. Apparently, I didn't realize her name from the because I guess her name was Fernandez. Like Betty Fernandez. She was Betty Bowman. And he basically showed up on her television set and just asked her if she's being treated well and is he a good man and like these are all things I'm like, man, he's handling this dying thing pretty well.
Yeah.
If my wife got remarried after I died, I'd be a little pissed off. Just a little teeny bit.
No, I get it. I get it. Um, so on some level,
Yeah. Well, I
it
mean,
makes sense.
I guess in the metaphysical sense, you probably don't even care because you realize you're on a different plane of existence. I mean, but philosophically speaking, but
Yeah.
he's handling this transition to whatever it is he is. Well, I guess the Star Child. He's handling this transition pretty well for what it's worth. I mean, even the conversation with Floyd or Dr. Floyd, where he's like, I know Dave Bowman exists within me, but I'm something different or whatever. Like that discussion that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid though. Like
Don't
being
blame you.
being on a space station and realizing there's a ghost on there with you, and
Oh man,
nobody was there.
there is so much potential for a great horror flick with that.
Yeah. I can see that. I'm surprised we didn't go further with that. The closest we got to that was Event Horizon.
Yeah, although I feel like I don't really like Event Horizon. It just feels like gross out.
It's kind of Hellraiser in space.
Yeah, and I just think it'd be way more interesting to just do a straight up ghost story.
The chat. Oh, Dead Space, Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation, though. Would you consider that a ghost story more than like just an alien kind of the chat? Just asking the chat. Alien Isolation, I wouldn't look at it in the same way as 2010 though. Dead
I'm not
Space,
familiar with it.
kind of zombie film in space. We're not getting a classic ghost story in space. I'd have to like look back into like my movie collection because I'm sure there has to be like a classic ghost story in space story.
Well, I don't know the movie you just mentioned, so
Yeah,
but still,
Alien Isolation's a game, and Dead Space is kind of like a
oh,
zombie film in space, or a
okay,
zombie game in space.
cool. So, yeah, um, I think we've been cheated. There's a horror movie we need. Just bunch of scientists in space
And
on a spaceship
a
with a ghost haunting them.
haunted spaceship.
Yeah, and it knocking them off one at a time.
Well, the one
That'd
thing
be
I will say, this movie really kind of like it really brightened my horizons in terms of because as a kid I was into horror movies a lot, or a lot of horror movies, a lot of comedies and stuff like that. So like just to see science fiction going in this direction was interesting.
well, one might say it was a event horizon for you.
Oh Jesus.
Well,
I
did you find him?
well fair.
Okay.
Here's another thing. Would you consider? Have you seen Interstellar? Would you consider this to be like in that same? Would
I've not
Interstellar
seen
be?
it.
Okay. That's another
I
one
haven't
we
seen
probably should have
oh,
a episode talking about.
sure. As long as it's not Dunkirk, I'm happy.
I've never
Um,
seen Dunkirk, but
I don't want to see it because I saw a little and I
mhm,
didn't appreciate what it did with the French in that movie.
fair enough.
Because they basically went full samurai and sacrificed themselves for the British who abandoned them.
Oh, I
But
see.
and the English just saw that, and the French did try screaming out, like, "What the hell are you doing?" And the English just ditched them. The English were cowards in the battle, and most of the French were willing to sacrifice themselves, but some of the rear guard were expecting they would be rescued, and they weren't. And it's a battle which really dishonored England in a way because, um, you have an agreement, you're on the same side, and like the British, like this was a total opposite of say Waterloo when the Germans and the English had an agreement, and the English truly were willing to sacrifice themselves for the Germans and put their lives on the line. And this is how they defeated Napoleon. It's a very fascinating victory
Mm,
where the English fought very nobly. But this is a contrast to Dunkirk. So I just view Dunkirk as something that's should have been handled with sensitivity and sophistication, and it wasn't.
I see.
So
Okay. Yeah,
one of those,
I can understand you not wanting to see that or not wanting to cover that one. I feel like
yeah,
Interstellar is so far divorced from like Dunkirk in
yeah,
terms.
it is. Um, I it is, and
It's
I think,
it's probably
yeah,
one of the better I forgot the name of the director uh of Interstellar, but I if you compare that to Tenet, Interstellar is the better movie.
I've heard that. I've heard that. Um,
Christopher Nolan.
well,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. What should we watch next after this? Because this one was really good. I like this one.
Yeah.
Mm, if that's a good one because I'll let you pick this time because
Okay.
I
Um,
got two by accident, so I'll let you.
well, yeah, but I pushed for us to watch the other one because I know you really wanted us to watch it, and
Well,
then
I
see
mean,
why.
like I
Very
said, the
hopeful.
first one gave you context to understand the second one better.
Yeah. So I like, you know, all right. So we'll pick the next one, and then we'll go back to you picking the one after that.
But we could
Um,
do Interstellar after that one because that's kind of
okay.
it's in the same vein as 2010 in terms of
Makes
like spatial anomalies. Actually, you can do Interstellar or Altered States because that's Altered States is a great psycho. Well, it's not one of those movies where you have to do drugs in order to understand what's going on, and it actually it actually is kind of interesting in terms of like just science fiction slash horror.
um, let's see. Uh, I'm not feeling creative here, but well, would let me see. Have you seen the movie Unborn?
I've heard of it. I've not seen it.
It's
Let me,
from 2021. It's now I'm not like I said, I've only watched a few. Like I okay, I like some Christian movies, but there's still some that I'm like, I'm never gonna see that even if you drag me kicking and screaming because
mhm.
a lot of it is really bad. Like God's Not Dead. I'm never gonna see that. I saw a few seconds of it and I was horrified.
I
It's so
yeah,
bad.
I kind of feel like that's kind of like
Pure flex. That's what someone called it. I think it was Jin who said pure flex. Yeah, I
pure
don't want to
flex.
watch any pure flex stuff. Um, or
Yeah.
whatever it's called. But the Unborn is basically a Christian horror film where, well, I can't spoil the whole thing, but like it deals with witches and demons,
Okay.
and um, in a Catholic setting, in a way, in sense.
No Angel
It's
Studios movies.
no, no, no. It's not like that. But it's really it gets into a bit of theology, which like there's some stuff I went, wait, what is that really a thing? And you then look it up and you go, oh frick, hot damn, it is. So things like that. And Dan noticed some details once or twice.
You said
What
it
do
was
you
a
think, Dan?
2001 movie?
2021.
Oh,
Sorry.
2021? Okay.
Williams.
Do you mean 2022?
2022 on uh no wait
I was bringing up like five movies named that title, so I want to make sure I
wrong
watched.
movie. Sorry.
Okay.
Wrong movie. I'm trying to think of the damn title. Um uh shoot, my keyboard's unplugged. Um no um is it this? No. Wait, I know how to find it. I'll just research
Oh,
what was that?
there's an IMDb entry that's called Unborn. from 2022.
That's not what I'm thinking.
Okay.
But I'm researching the actual movie. I know the lead actor in this movie. He's from Supernatural.
Is it
I just need to
Jared Padalecki?
let me just find the damn cast list. Because he played the father.
The guy that played Negan. Okay.
Yeah, I just don't remember his damn name.
He was oh god. It's funny because he was in The Walking Dead. He played Negan, and he basically the guy that he killed is that character. His girlfriend played his wife when he was Thomas and Martha Wayne in the Dark Knight movie, I think.
Oh wow.
It was it the Dark Knight, or was it like
The Unholy. That was it. The Unholy.
yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Yes.
So it's the movie is called Unholy from 2021.
Okay, Unholy. Okay, all right.
It's
actually that movie's on it's on Amazon Prime right now, so I might actually watch it. Like if I don't watch it,
I think it's on that or Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
But it's you could probably find it online or something and rent it there. But the movie is quite good. It's a
Okay.
very good horror. But there's also a murder mystery in a way. Like, because when the monster kills someone, the characters don't just say, well, it's a monster. They actually investigate like it's a murder mystery. So you know what happened, but you don't know exactly like you know there's a monster, but you don't exactly know who the monster is or
You know what that
where it's
reminds
hitting from.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you're murder mystery investigating. It's like a police procedural
Mhm.
meets horror meets theology.
It was Batman v Superman that he was Thomas Wayne in. Yeah, he was Thomas Wayne in Glenn's girlfriend from Walking Dead. The guy, or the girlfriend of the guy he killed, played Martha Wayne, which is ironic. Yeah, this kind of reminds me of Exorcist Part 3, which also kind of had a police procedural kind of aspect to it too, with a demon possession angle. Which that's another one that might be in the pile.
Yeah, sure. The Unholy though goes with the theme of lies. Lying is a sin, and it's like in with 2010 thematically. So
Yeah.
like the characters need to the lead needs to learn to actually start, telling the truth in order to win.
Oh, we get William Sadler and Carrie Elways in this movie?
Yeah. Does it appeal?
Yeah, I like Carrie Elways. I've always liked Carrie Elways ever since Princess Bride. Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome in Princess Bride. Have we done Princess Bride?
We have not done Princess Bride, though I am always down to watch Princess Bride.
Okay, we do Unholy, then we do Interstellar, then we do Princess Bride. I'm actually going to note this in our Discord chat.
Yeah, put that down, because I
will forget.
My memory is not as good as it used to be. Long-term things, or like anything that I've learned, whatever, I can retain that forever. Like you tell me what I had for lunch, no.
Yeah, like long-term memory, I'm the same way. Same with Dan.
Yeah.
Short-term memory, all three of us are fizzled out. Like
because it's like here it is. I probably don't remember the entire conversation that we've had through the podcast, but I could probably remember word for word a conversation I had a year ago.
Yeah.
I get that.
Or in the middle of the night, remember like something that I did wrong like 20 years ago that I wish I could go back and fix.
Yeah,
oh boy, we've all had those moments.
2 a.m. like realization or whatever. Or my favorite is my brain like tries to trick me into one day you're going to die. And then I wonder if there's an afterlife, and what are you going to do after that? Like I get hit with those things at 3 a.m, and I'm sitting there contemplating like just the the whole concept of an afterlife. My brain is a terrible enemy.
Well, there's a solution. Religion.
well, yes, I agree. It's mainly just it's one of those things where your brain is like terrible in terms of trying to get you to contemplate things in the worst possible times. Oh, by the way, this is on it's for rent to buy on Amazon Prime, but it's available on Stars, and I have Stars, so
Oh, groovy.
I could probably watch this
Okay.
tonight.
Sure. We could go for next week or this coming week. I mean,
You want to do it again on
Um,
Saturday? Because I don't mind doing this on Saturday. Oh, that's a Sam Raimi film.
okay.
This is a Sam Raimi film.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
That's
Yep.
even better.
Well, okay. Saturday it is, right after Real Negro Hours. Since that's on Fridays, right?
Oh, it's Thursday
Thursday.
nights, but the podcast episode, the Spotify episode shows up on like Friday.
Oh, okay. That's why I was thinking Friday. Cool. Yeah, okay. Saturdays work. We could try to stick with that for week after week.
I
Yeah.
don't mind that so much because I feel like during the week there's so much going on.
Yeah, same. Agreed. Well, I actually have to go because we have to eat and I have to fulfill my responsibilities for over on Substack with Sword and Saturday. 'Cause
Sounds
I
good.
host the fantasy event, but I'll probably give a shout out to our Royal Road account instead.
Sounds
which
good.
I believe I sent you the link. Did I?
I have to take a look.
I don't think
gotta,
I did.
I gotta. Yeah, my daughter is spending the weekend with grandma, so we have the boy, and I gotta fulfill my family duties. Spending family time.
What the hell is that?
Uh,
Family duties?
I know.
All right.
If
I
you're
sent
gonna
you
get
the-
if you're gonna get married and have kids, for the audience, do it while you're young. When you're in your 40s and you're trying to do all this shit, it's rough.
well, I got nothing to say except already here, and I'm probably going to be doing it in my 30s. So I don't know if that's young for you or just as rough. I don't know.
We decided I got married in my late 30s, and like we had my daughter when I was 40, and I was like, it's going to be rough from here on out. And then we had the boy not even last year. Like that was a surprise. That was like yeah, like apparently I guess I should probably be a little bit more cautious about where I'm behaving badly, so to speak. So, but hey, I'm an old man. You're not gonna give me the change. I'm just gonna go where I want to go. that's as PG as I can put that. Oh jeez. So yeah, thank you for joining us for this episode. Hold on a second.
Always a pleasure.
By the way, Lauren Cohen played Maggie in The Walking Dead and Bruce's mother. That's what I was referring to. So
yeah. So
yeah,
we will. So I'll just subscribe to Boss Fight at the Movies.
Oh, that's a great episode. Or that's it gets a little blue
in all your podcasts wherever they are. People should just subscribe to all of them.
Currently, the only two shows I have going on right now besides this, I'm actually considering I need to figure out where to put these because I want to do audio onlys of these and put them up.
Well,
Clark Griswold. I see a movie with a stream talk or see a stream of movie talk and I join. Oh, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Well, give me the links and I'll try sharing them around.
Yeah, I'll probably I might make another podcast thing just specifically for movie talk episodes and just have them.
Oh, I thought you already did.
I didn't. I pretty much put the videos up on Rumble, but that's about it. But for stuff like this, I feel like this would be great in the audio only like kind of sphere.
Okay, sure. Give me the link. You could even put them up on Substack if you want.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, and
We're about to end the show, but we were talking about 2010, the year we made contact, which was we both agreed it was a great movie.
yeah, like at least a 3.1 out of 4.
I can live with that. I can live with that.
Yeah, same here.
It's really good. I don't have any other words.
Yeah, it like there's a reason why it's my go-to. It's my go-to like beginning of the year thing because it's like okay, very hopeful. It'll give me a great opportunity to kind of like just focus on a positive direction for the year, even if it doesn't go positive. At least you got that to start with. But we're gonna get out of here. Thank you for joining us for this, and we will see you guys next boss fight. Take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday.